Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He's the first cat herder in our family.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, well, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here, and if you look at his face, it's just ripped to shreds, you know.
You see the movies, you hear the stories, I'm living a dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost a one of them, ain't a feeling like it in the world.
BDS, managing the complexities of e-business.
So we've been herding cats for about 25 years now. And we think we've learned some things over that time. And this discussion, this time together this afternoon, we'll be sharing some of the things that we think we've learned. And we're even going to talk about one case that we screwed up, because we learned from the mistakes we made as well. So, and afterwards we'll have, I hope, a good, vigorous Q&A session. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to redefine creativity as we see it, as we come at it. We'll look at 7 common sense principles that keep us on track. And we'll look at examples of when we got it right and when we got it wrong. And then we'll talk about the fact that the biggest variable in any company's creative quotient is their culture, is the workplace. Thereby underscoring something you guys know very well at Microsoft. I know that you're so large, and I'm sure there are cultural issues. We heard of some of them over lunch. But nevertheless, a culture can be a strategic advantage for a company. And we're going to show you how at least we approach that and try to leverage that strategic advantage in our favor. At the end of the hour, we believe you'll come away with a couple of things. First, we hope you share our passion for the power of a big idea. What a big idea can do, a single-minded big idea can do for a company. One that unifies and brings everyone together. That's what Juicing the Orange, our book, the reason we're here, Juicing the Orange. That's what Juicing the Orange is all about. Big, unifying ideas that endure over time. And secondly, we think you'll go back to your offices, to your workstations, and maybe have determination to improve the creativity in your culture, and do the little refinements, and have suggestions on how your culture may be refined so that the creativity within your culture can be unlocked and can be effective. So with that, 5 of us started Fallon in 1981. And we started on those two enduring principles, the power of creativity and culture as a strategic advantage. And with that, Fred's going to show you one of our early examples.
Our very first client was our own barbershop, or you could say hairstylist. And they had picked a bad name for themselves. They'll never be a chain. And they had no money for models. They had no money for makeup artists. They had no money for high-priced photographers. And they had no money to pay us. They had enough money for some bus station places outside of near their barbershop. So we came at the problem totally differently than you would normally come at a barbershop. A bad haircut can make anyone look dumb. Let's come at it from the reverse. Let's take famous people with bad haircuts. You can't cover up a bad haircut. A bad haircut is no laughing matter. And we did these, and their business went up immediately, and people stole the posters, and we started to figure out why. And the why was that the emotional truth of a bad haircut is worse than the glory of a good haircut. And so we started to get this principle down that if you can find an emotional way to let your consumer get involved with you on the issue, you've got something going. So this was the very, very start of learning how this game is played.
We got sued, by the way, by all three of these people.
Right, yeah. Well, we didn't, it was okay because we didn't have anything. It didn't matter. They couldn't sue. Come on, come and get us. So in the ensuing years, we picked up. We're very, very proud of the client list that we have. Blue chip players around the world, and we've learned some things that work and some things that don't work. And we've learned that it's not about the size of the budget, it's about the size of the idea. We call it creative leverage. And we coined the term creative leverage because at the time, everybody was talking about media leverage. You've spent enough money to drown out your competitor and worm your way into the hearts of consumers. And we said, no, we think it's about the idea. We think it's about outsmarting, not outspending. And we defined it this way. It's rigorous applied creativity to solve a very well-defined business problem. And there's a lot of things that creative leverage is not. It's not a lightning bolt out of the blue, somebody, Bruce Casserole, running into the room saying, I've got this thing solved. It's not a funny commercial. How many times have you told somebody about a great commercial that you really loved and you can't remember who it's for? You can't remember exactly what it is. That's not creative leverage. And it's not art for art's sake. But it is art aimed at solving a specific business problem. The other thing that we really want to leave you with is the notion that creative leverage is a rigorous team sport. That collaboration has never been more important than it is today in the world of profound change with endless options, deafening clutter, and new technology coming at us all the time. You guys are part of that world. You are leading that world. Globalization, we could go on, but we have got to collaborate to win. Pat?
It's pretty amazing how the world of advertising is changing. If you watch Desperate Housewives in a 60-minute episode, they'll have 24 minutes of commercial in that 60. That's a change. We have over half the population telling us aggressively that commercials take the joy out of what they're watching. Commercials actually deprive them of the joy of watching a program. And we have 25% and growing of people who have TiVo or some sort of instrument that's aimed at eliminating commercials and aimed at watching the content of a program whenever you want to watch it. So the world is changing profoundly. Obviously, we're in a new time and a new day. Now, consider I'll give you two client ugly facts. One is that 10 years ago, in the past 10 years, the Super Bowl has increased in cost 140%. 10 years, 140%. Over the same 10-year period, there's only 4% more eyeballs. 140% on one hand, 4% on the other hand. And that doesn't include the TiVo, the things that are now available. So that doesn't work. Let me give you another example. In the past 20 years, the amount of automotive spending and advertising has gone up almost 1,400%. 20 years, 1,400%. The number of new car sales in that same time has only gone up 17%. 1,400%, 17%. That doesn't work. So really, as marketers, we've got our work cut out for us. And there are two really good examples of why juicing the orange, what we call juicing the orange, and we'll explain this more as we go on, is so important. So how does any marketer or any business person, or any anyone in a creative business beat those kind of odds? Well, we've developed a game plan, and this game plan is how we define juicing the orange. And there are 7 principles. And if you apply those rigorously with passion, we believe, no matter what size your company, they'll work in your favor. The first one is always start from scratch. If you think about it, creativity is common sense, unencumbered by the way we do things now. There's a futurist named Edie Weiner who has a great term for it.
Did you make that name up?
No, I didn't. That's her real name.
Okay.
Edie Weiner. And she calls this educated. I have heckling on my own team.
Well, I'm just kind of sitting here over in the corner. I know what to...
She has a phrase for it. It's called educated incapacity. And that's when you know so much you become dumb. You are so close to it. You're so involved with why things can't work and how things used to be done and the reasons that you can't get out of this box that you never do. You're paralyzed. You're handcuffed by your own intelligence. We believe the first step of any good strategy is getting way back and seeing the problem as the problem. You know, oftentimes people come to us and they say, our advertising isn't working. And as we look into it, it has nothing to do with your advertising. It could be distribution. It could be product quality. It could be supply chain. There's so many things it could be. But again, they're so close to it. So I think principle number 1 is step back far enough to really see the problem. To be open-minded. Somehow open yourself up so that the God-given potential you have of intellect and creativity can come out and look at that problem. Fred is going to talk about...
Imagine if I was standing over there in a different podium, it'd be a lot smoother transition. But in 1992, James Carville walked into the Little Rock, Arkansas Clinton headquarters and wrote 4 words on the whiteboard. It's the economy, stupid. That was perfect. That is taking a problem and reducing it down to what they could get their heads around to solve. It never became a slogan or a sticker, but we still know that today. It's the economy, stupid. We are champions of being relentless reductionists. You've got to simplify the problem down to its absolute core essence. And so many people today are really good at making things more complicated than they need to be. And that won't get it. In our business, we really want to get it down to one simple problem. And you'll see some of that in the cases that we're talking about.
Some people, to just elaborate a little bit, some people see complication as a way to show their own intelligence. And it just is a destructive end. And to us, the smartest people can understand the complication, but the intelligence comes in to simplifying it down to its essential truth, to the one thing that matters. Poets call it the one given line, that line from which the entire poem stems. So, to us, that simplicity is very important. I'll show you an example in a few minutes about connecting emotionally. But the thing is, we want to find that emotional connection, and then we want to make it ours. We want to own it. We don't want anybody else to be able to even get in that territory. It has to be ours. So we want to stake it out. You know, businesses often fear the rational, or often gravitate to the rational and fear the emotional. But unfortunately, that's not how we're wired as human beings. Humans are wired in such a way that our emotions tell us how to prioritize the thousands of rational messages coming at us every day. Your right brain is a gatekeeper for your left brain. In most of our truly successful cases, we found an emotional way to charm or seduce or recruit that gatekeeper.
Fourth principle of creative leverage is focus on the size of the idea, not the size of the budget. Let me go back 44 years. 1962, Avis had lost money for 13 years. They went to an agency called Doyle, Dane & Bernbach and hired them to turn it around. And in the course of the discussions between the agency and the client, somebody at the agency said, "Why should I rent a car from you?" And the answer was, "We're number 2. We've got to try harder." And that was so profound and so significant that they made that the advertising campaign. Their share of market went from 11% in 1962 to 35% in 1966. And in 2006, they're using the "We Try Harder" mantra. It's much bigger than just an advertising idea. It goes all through the culture of how they meet, how they train, and how they do things. And that's an example of a big idea that solved a marketing problem in a big way.
You know, I don't know how you can be successful today unless you're willing to assume some strategic risks. Well thought out, responsible, but still risks. You can't get where you want to go without undertaking some sort of risk. And we feel like in today's global marketplace, that's true not only in America, but it's true everywhere. You just simply can't be safe and inch your way to success. At some point, there has to be a belief that says, I'm willing to take this risk. Now, in the year 2000, BMW, which had been our client for about a decade, spent less than 2% of all the car advertising. They were just a little speck in the noise of car advertising. And whereas the advertising we'd done in the beginning when we created this advertising on television was new and fresh and provocative, in the year 2000, Pontiac was ripping us off. Mitsubishi was ripping us off. And it was time to move. So we recommended, instead of doing TV commercials, that they put virtually all their media dollars into production of small films that would be run only on the internet. BMW films.
And at this time, remember, the percentage of people who had broadband was very, very low. It was less than 20%.
And we thought we needed to make, for this to work, which was heresy at this time, no TV advertising, go on the internet only, and make people come to you. For this to work, we had to be so good, so provocative, so arresting, so compelling, that we would change the dynamics of the marketplace. That people would really make time to come and seek us out and get these many films. We had confidence that we could do this because we knew that 80% of our prospects began the shopping process on the internet already. They were fluent, and the internet for the BMW prospect was already part of their lives and becoming more and more part of their lives. And even when they watched television, they were likely to have their computer on. They were multitasking. So it seemed like a risk, but we were pretty confident if we could pull it off that we'd get good results. Well, the films had over 93 million views. It was successful beyond our wildest imagination and beyond the client's wildest imagination. They had a way of measuring the cost of a brand minute. And through this internet, through our BMW films, they were 40% less than network television, the cost for a brand minute. So all this risk and all the bravery and courage it took to let us go ahead and do it paid off handsomely for them. Their sales were the envy of their category, and honestly, the envy of the whole automotive industry. And it changed the way people thought about the way they invested their advertising dollars. So to us, taking a strategic risk is almost a mandate for success.
The other thing, we mentioned this already, is collaborate or perish. There just are not enough brilliant dictators like Steve Jobs to go around. The rest of us are simply...
Or Bill Gates.
or Bill Gates. The rest of us are going to have to talk to each other. The other reality is that things are changing so fast that no one person, no matter how brilliant they are, has all the pieces to the puzzle. So we think that collaboration, how fast you can collaborate, the velocity that you can collaborate with, can be a strategic advantage for any team or for any company.
And lastly, we believe in listening to the customer. We believe in listening to the consumer and putting our arms around these consumers and inviting them in to be part of our team, part of the strategic team. Now, what if you knew your customers better, truly knew them better, had deeper insights, had more interaction, had a closer, more passionate relationship with them than the competition? And what if you had a proprietary understanding of your customer? I'll tell you what, you'd be winning. I don't care what the category is. You'd be reconfiguring, you'd be redefining, you'd be leading, and in the end you'd be winning. So now we're going to take a look at some of these case histories that illustrate some of these guiding principles.
Crisis in the dog food business. Now, what's your saying here about the dog food? You have a
Eat your own dog.
Eat your own dog food. This has nothing to do with that. Our client was Purina Dog Chow, and in 1996, they were spiraling down as a major brand. It was just losing share, and it was losing share because all of these new designer dog foods were coming into the dog shelves, into the vet specialty stores, and the grocery stores. And we looked at every piece of research to try to figure out what was going on, and we could not figure it out. The brand's strength, and people's respect for the brand was holding up, but their sales continued to go down. So we have account planners in our business, and those are people that I would call commercial anthropologists. And it's their job to figure out what's going on. And they went out and they visited with their dog-owning friends. And anybody, how many of you have dogs? Okay, you will talk to anybody about your dog for a long, long time. So it wasn't like a telephone interview during dinner. And all these commercial anthropologists came back together, and they said there's two things going on here. There's one group of dog owners that feeds a consistent dog food all the time, and they tend to be the hunters and the breeders and the people with working dogs. Then there's the family pet owners who every time they go shopping, they do exactly what they do for their family, and they get variety. So variety is actually bad for a dog, and vets have known that all the time, and the breeders know that and everything like that. But the people who were doing it didn't know that. So we went out and did some more research with them, and we said, what if we told you it was bad for you to do that, to feed that variety every week for your dog? Would you change your habit? They said, of course we would. We love that dog. So we figured that there was enough brand strength in Purina to turn the thing our way if we just had one consistent message. A consistent diet is healthier for your dog. That's all we had to get across. So I want to show you two television spots that aimed at getting that across.
Are you tired of that dog food already? Here's something different, sweetie.
Sudden changes in your dog's diet can sometimes lead to stomach discomfort. So feed your dog a consistent diet of one nutritious dog food. Purina Dog Chow brand dog food every day.
Okay, let me show you one more.
Are you tired of that dog food already? Here's something different, sweetie.
Constantly switching your dog's food can sometimes lead to finicky eating behavior. So feed your dog a consistent diet of one nutritious dog food. Purina Dog Chow brand dog food every day.
The results were just amazing. Just by having one simple message that didn't have anything to do with pricing or package design or distribution or formula or anything like that, turned that slide around, and they had a 12% gain in a commodity category for the next 2 years. That's 35 tons of dog food, $45 million more of revenue. And that's a good example of juicing the orange, where you just work hard on the creativity and get it right. So if you go back and look at the 7 principles we were starting to develop at this time, you can see that we did start from scratch. We listened hard to our customers, and then we found a way to connect emotionally and make it our own. Any other dog food business, dog chow brand could have done that, but we did it for Purina and it worked. Any questions on that one? Makes sense to dog owners?
Go out and buy Purina dog chow. All right, I get to tell you about what happens when we ignore our own principles. Yeah. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think customers trusted this ad?
Sorry?
Why do you think customers trusted this ad?
Because of the brand. Purina has tremendous heritage of trust and knowledge. And they didn't stop buying Purina ever. They just made it part of their portfolio. And we were trying to eliminate the rest of the portfolio.
Do you see a problem of trust in the industry where people do not trust ads anymore because they corporations who abuse the trust, for example,
there's a lot of
pharmaceuticals?
there's a lot of cynicism about that. There's a lot of negativity towards advertising, and a lot of it's well deserved. And I don't want to be an apologist for the business I'm in, but I can tell you one thing: we respect the consumer. We don't lie to consumers, and we never will.
So how do you make sure that this simple, great message that does not turn around 180 degrees?
What do you mean?
I don't know what that is.
If someone thought that they about this message, that they do this only to keep customers buying this brand, but it's not necessarily good for the...
I can answer that. As a dog owner, you would go to your friends. You'd say, is that true? Can that possibly be true? And the way the word of mouth works today, people would either give you trust in that message or they say don't believe it. So we don't believe anything we hear in the media until it's verified by our community.
Okay.
You'll believe this one though.
Yeah, you'll believe this. We screwed this up so bad you'll have no trouble in believing it. In 1998, Miller Brewing Company came to us and asked us to help them turn Miller Lite around. And Miller Lite had invented the light beer category. They were the first in, they owned it. They had commercials with all the athletes screaming, "Taste Light, not selling," the whole bit. They had that going, but somewhere along the line there was a company called Budweiser that got onto this. And Budweiser took the market from them. They just took it. Miller hadn't won a taste test head-to-head with Bud for a decade. And beyond that, Bud has more distribution muscle, has a bigger land army, and they have a stronger brand. So Miller Lite was up against it. And our opinion was they lost their personality. This is simplifying it, but they had no personality in a category where personality is everything. They had just been marginalized. And Coors Light was coming up, and all sorts of other beer activity, and they just sat and watched their future be taken from them. And so we did the research, and we talked to their customers, and you can't live on the fumes of a brilliant campaign 10 years later. That doesn't work. And you can't be successful when there's no product differentiation. They had not changed that formula for over 10 years. Bud Light changes their formula, tweaks it every single year to the consumer's taste. So our insight was that often the best moments for a beer drinker were spontaneous and unplanned. So the brief was at Miller time, anything can happen. The one good thing we did for Miller Lite is we brought back Miller Time. That had been mothballed for a long time. We brought that back and made it spontaneous. Anything can happen. at beer time. The problem was, though, that we took it too far. And our spontaneity really lacked strategic rigor. And some of our spots were weird for weird's sake. Some of them looked like clips from a Czechoslovakian student film festival. And we just got off track. We had initial success. We believed that we were doing something right. We lost track of the marketplace. We lost track of the distribution. And it cost us. Let me give you one example, one good example of what we did for Miller Lite. The thing is, in the end, this campaign became a poster child for creativity rung amok. We didn't have a strategic integrity, and we let the wackiness of this thing get us carried away, and we left the distribution system out of the picture. And what we learned from this is creativity without rigor is dangerous. It really can do bad things for a brand. Do you have that, Fred? To us, if you get both parts of this equation right, creativity with rigor, anything can happen. And it's almost like you can achieve more than you think you can achieve. You can move mountains, great marketing miracle, but they have to work together. So that's the only example, Miller Lite, of the mistakes we've made during the 25 years. We'd like to show you something brilliant now.
Not that we don't have more mistakes, but I want to talk about Holiday Inn Express. In 1998, Holiday Inn Express came late to this mid-priced, low-service category of hotels. Marriott Courtyard was already in it. And Holiday Inn Express had an interesting problem because they already had the family business with Holiday Inn, so they had to look for another market segment. So the first piece of being a relentless reductionist is we said, just go after the business travelers, the hardcore business travelers that make their living on low per diem, low expense, going around the country. The people who would start out in Wisconsin and drive down to Iowa and then end up in Sioux Falls and drive back. So we said that's going to be our core market. We went to talk to them to find out if there's anything that we could find that the other competitors hadn't found yet. And we discovered that they're very interesting people. They were very sociable and a lot of fun, and they loved to have travel. They loved to tell you travel stories, but they didn't feel like any brand was really paying attention to them. Anybody in the hotel category. And all of a sudden a light bulb went off. We said, if somebody is important to a business, an important segment, and nobody's paying attention to them, we've got an opportunity. So as we went further into it, and we did ethnographic research, which meant we actually got out and rode with these guys and videotaped them making their rounds. We saw that we had an opportunity to make being an inexpensive hotel cool. It wasn't just about value, it was about being cool. Because these guys felt pretty savvy about staying at a place that gave them everything they needed and none of what they didn't need. So we thought there was some emotional high ground, that we could celebrate the road warriors' pragmatic wisdom. That was kind of the brief that we went to the creative teams with. So this campaign has now been running for 8 years. I'm going to show you 3 spots that follow the same pattern starting in about 1999. I think the first one might be 2000 here.
This is a very rare strain of the Ebola virus. It produces mRNA, the deadliest of the stem loop structures. Oh, don't worry, it's not an airborne strain.
Excuse me, how long have you been studying the Ebola virus?
Well, I'm not actually a scientist, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Okay, 2 or 3 years later.
Reactor 3 at critical mass.
Core temperature still rising. Close the flow channels. Activate the hydrogen recombiners.
Meltdown.
Do it.
In 10 seconds.
Are you new to the team?
Well, actually, I'm with the tour group. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Okay, this one ran just last year.
Welcome back. Our big leader is Carl Senegren, a bouncer from Saskatchewan. His hobbies are eating and lighting firecrackers. And it says here, Carl, you're looking forward to the 7th grade. You're going to be a teacher?
No, a student, Alex.
You mean you're not even in high school yet?
What is no? But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Okay, what happens when you get the creative execution right is it moves into popular culture, and then you start to get a tremendous spin from the popular culture as well. Take a look at this. This is ESPN.
You stack the line of scrimmage with 8 guys, you stop Clinton Portis, you put them in 3rd and long situations, and you make Danny Cannell beat you. Now, I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express. I do know that will work. Amazing.
We're not going to cut any benefits. Well, the experts, the actuaries, the people who keep track of all this stuff say, you know, it doesn't work that way. I mean, I know myself. I might not be an actuary, but I did stay in a Holiday Inn last night. And I know that 1 + 1 = 2.
That's an example of a platform idea that they use the Stay Smart thing in their training. They use it at their point of sale inside the company. It's been going on for years. The metrics are great. When we got the business, they had 830 properties. Today they have over 1,350 properties, I believe. And they still have the most momentum in the category. So that's a good example of creative leverage. I think we're going to jump ahead here to talk about culture. We've got a couple of other cases. We're going to skip through those.
We're running a late long, and you would have loved them though.
So,
and then TED, which is the United Airlines low-cost carrier.
so I'm going to. Tell you what, we'll come back.
You want to see City? It's a great
case. Without holding up the people that are here, let's talk about the culture part, and then anybody wants to stay and see those cases, we'll go back and show them.
That's right.
He's a chairman. He's a chairman. It's a very great mistake to think that the enjoyment of seeing and searching can be promoted by means of coercion or sense of duty, which is to say you cannot command creativity. We used Albert. We showed a bad haircut. Now we're quoting him. We apologize for that. Creativity is about culture and not about process. So we're going to show you a couple of things that we've done in the culture that we think work for us. The first one is how many read Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point? Remember the connectors in there? The very positive, outgoing people that were in all circles and had many circles of friends? That is the basis of a culture player. Somebody who really gets your vision at your company and sort of exports it to other departments. And we love these people, and we tell them we love them, and they're really important to us. And we keep them. And when we make mistakes, they cover for us. And I won't give you examples right now, but they're really for 25 years we've treasured a small, and they can be in any position. We have an office manager who is a great cultural player. We've got many IT people right now who, as they travel among our great cultural players. So that's an important premise about building a good culture, about creativity.
They're kind of the lifeblood of our culture. But what isn't the lifeblood of our culture are negative players. People who bring negativity no matter what situation they're in. And this took us a long time to figure out that you don't need it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how smart they are or how brilliant. At least in our business, they sap energy. They take other people's energy. They deflate other people, and it's simply not worth it. So, in our opinion, there are a lot of smart people. There are a lot of smart people that are optimistic, can do, love their jobs. That's the kind of people we want. And the ones that we suffered in the beginning of our agency, enormously talented, they're not worth it, and we fire them. How's that?
Other people will hire them. They got great resumes and they're bright people. Don't worry about them. Did you want to choose long-term culture airlines?
No.
Okay.
I was going to tell you about a client we fired, but I'm going to go through that too.
Okay. Pat has 19 people over for dinner at his house every month or so, and the reason he has 19 is that's how many chairs he has. And what he does is the same thing that you would do for a dinner party at your house. He picks some of those culture players, some of the new kids, some of the people from the interactive department who don't know the art directors, and they start to build the basis for collaboration long before they have to solve a client problem together. And we believe in a lot of things in socializing the workplace. When we win a new piece of business, we have the winning team come back and give that same presentation to the entire agency so that we start to share the knowledge. When we have clients come in, I'll go to the next point, is teachable moment. We ask clients to talk to us about their business so that we keep the culture as informed as we possibly can about everything that's going on. I want to end with a discussion that I'm sure is the same of the issue that you leaders at Microsoft have, and that is that how do you keep the 25 to 35-year-olds aligned and motivated in a company and working creatively? We've got a man named Robert Sr. who runs our London office, and he says it's the difference between renters and owners. Some people are just coming through your company, building their resume, and others own the vision that the founders have and keep working it that way. We want to turn renters into owners at our place. So one of the things that young people do when they start work is they give up on their dreams. They got 40 years of work ahead of them, but they all wanted to write a screenplay or something like that. So we have a program that says if you put a little bit of money into the fund every month, we'll match it with Fallon money. And in 3 years, you'll have about $5,000. We'll give you another 2 weeks to add to your vacation. So you'll have $5,000 in a month. Go do something exciting with it. Keep that dream alive. So we've had a guy who just before he got married went to run with the Bulls in Pamplona from the media department. I don't know why. We had a woman motorcycle across Europe with her husband. We had a woman build a photo studio in the basement of her home. An account planner wrote the first draft of his novel. All kinds of things. Now, why is this good for our culture? It's good because people keep those dreams alive. They talk about it before they do it. They go do it, and they come back and they talk about it after they did it. And that keeps the creative juices going. It keeps it sort of a childlike place. And it's worked very, very well for us. So the last creativity thing for us is to set the bar very high. It's just remember that we are out to make marketing history and to push as hard as we can. What we believe is that there is a creative way to solve every business problem. Just keep working at it until you get it. And we believe about our organization and about your organization, the teams that you work on, there's more creativity in your organization than you think. Just got to keep looking for it, working the culture to find it, and focus it for business results. And with that, we'll open it up and take any questions that you might have. And if anybody has to leave, we've used up our time allotment, so thank you very much.
So I've got 2 questions. The first is, you guys said you fired a client, and I'm kind of wondering how that happened and,
Sure.
And how you made the decision to do that.
Yep. It was under the thing, basically, we had a client that was so contentious, we couldn't do good work. We couldn't fulfill the promise we made to our people who hire us. And that is, come to us and we will get as much of the crap out of the way as possible so you can do the best work of your career. And this client simply would not allow the with dedicated, committed, passionate people on their business to perform at the level that they're capable of. And we saw this eroding confidence. We saw it eroding and getting into our culture. It happened at the time they were our largest client. They had 25% of our billings and 40% of our profit. And we fired them. Because we thought we were going to lose some key cultural players if we didn't. Because they made us break the promises that were inherent to the strength of our place. And we thought we had to act. And we did. And it was the best thing we ever did.
And we grew 21% the next year. But one addendum to that thought was, we didn't fire them when we got that. We decided that we would add as much business as we possibly could, as fast as we could, so that we wouldn't have to have a layoff. We didn't want to replace the. We just any little piece of business we get in, we did. And we got to the revenue line where we wouldn't have layoffs. Then we terminated the relationship. Yeah.
So the next question is, you said key to your strategy is assemble as much proprietary and personally identifiable information as you can about your customers. You have good market intelligence. Well, when you're a monopoly, you're under kind of a lot of scrutiny when it comes to that sort of thing. And so I'm wondering if you could offer any advice to, say a company in that position that might need to strike a more delicate balance than, say, a bank, for instance.
Well, we're not talking about collusion, right? We're talking about customer knowledge. And basically, it's understanding.
Well, your customers, when you're asked, could be anybody from OEMs to ISVs to, you with your homeowners. So.
Yeah. The thing is, the answer is I really don't know what to say on that, except that to us, having this intimacy, customer intimacy, is the key to developing strategy. And to do that, you have to work harder, you have to dig deeper. You could put the same information in front of us and other people, and I promise you, we would find an essential truth that other people have missed. It's the difference between data and insight. And I don't know. That's not really a good answer, and I'm not sure I have the answer to that.
I think that the clue is it is about insights from existing, and that's not like you're data mining. You're understanding the customer better.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions again. One is on, again, Microsoft being a technology company. One constant challenge is to always make technology more fun and from an advertising mechanism. So one of the popular options that companies do nowadays are go after the power of community.
Yeah.
The wikis, the blogs getting very popular. So like your thoughts on that. And the second related question is user-directed advertising, right? Which I don't know if you've heard of the Chevrolet Tahoe experiment where they forced people to do that. Which became a big issue with SUVs and gas guzzling and so on. So what is the balance between a good user-directed advertising versus a non? Because there are some popular.
You want the first question or the second question?
You take the second one.
Okay.
You take the second one first.
Okay, well, you think about the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody know what he's talking about with the Tahoe experiment of the interactive? Well, basically, they gave consumers on the internet the ability to build their own commercial for the Tahoe. They gave them the film clips and everything. I'm correct about this. And people did wonderful commercials against SUVs with that work. It backfired on them. So
only the people that felt strongly against them
participated. Yeah.
Because this participation is through passion.
Yeah.
And they misread where the passion was. Their passion was one place. The consumer, the world's passion, was in a different place. It was a disaster.
It fell short of a noble experiment.
Yeah. It might have worked with sports cars.
But, well, maybe.
It might have.
But other people will try it. We certainly will too. If we can find a community that we think brings positive passion to the issue, we will certainly turn them loose on it.
And the answer to the first question is that the blogs, and I mean, we didn't show you any case histories that featured a lot of technology, but we have them, and this whole sense of community is extraordinarily valuable, powerful, and momentum building, and will only be more so in the future. So you got to get there.
I mean, you've heard the cliche word of mouth. we really believe that that is the new medium. And we have to put work out there that is creative enough to get on that network.
Have you guys done any of the advertising where you hire people who
I know what you mean.
it's called guerrilla marketing or exactly where you hire people to go and they push things in their own private time, so to speak, so they have a party and that they'll discuss the book. They might read a book because they read this book, and then they go talk about that book at a cocktail party because now that's the book.
Yeah, generally those kind of companies are specialists, and they're called activation companies. And we would work with those.
Buzz marketing.
Or buzz marketing, and we have done a lot of that, and we've done it early. I think the best example would be some of the work we did for Lee Jeans and Buddy Lee. I don't know if you remember that work, but a lot of that was fun.
But another gentleman right ahead of you asked a question about trust. Boy, you've got to be careful in that buzz marketing, because if you lose the trust dimension, it's not going to work. Pretty tricky territory.
If you lose the trust dimension in your culture, it's everything. Trust is huge. If you guys don't trust each other in the workplace, you're not as powerful and not as effective as you could be. Bruce, what did we teach you? Okay, next question.
You mentioned that there's a change
We'll come back.
in the ad business, and I see that too, going more online and in places where I can really quantify my spend and the return on my investment versus big brand awareness. And so are you spending time in search or really short messages that can be seen on a banner, that could be focusing on blogs or podcasts, those types of things?
Yeah, we're experimenting just like many people that want to be in the forefront of this. And the juxtaposition you made was, online is quantifiable versus, I think, unspoken, brand advertising that isn't quantifiable. But all of it should be quantifiable. It depends on setting up the objectives and the measurable, the things you want to have happen before it runs. I mean, nothing. This world, Citibank has metrics on their metrics on their metrics. It's bizarre. And most of that is on mainstream advertising. It can be measured in the country, but it's much easier to go direct and have the interaction and the dialogue with your customers. That's much more easily measured. Sure.
Can you show the Citibank slide?
We don't have television commercials. We don't have.
Show them what we're going to show. Yeah. Citibank.
Anybody has to take off. Don't.
Yeah, we won't be insulted. We're so used to being insulted. Citibank came to us, and as you can imagine, think about it, most bank advertising is alike. Sounds alike, looks alike, feels alike. It's alike. And we had the opportunity to have a big client say, let's get out of that club. And in 1999, we found a group of people that we named balance seekers who understood that they couldn't have it all. And they didn't measure the richness of their life by the amount of money they had. They measured it more by what they could do with their money and the experiences that their money allowed they and their family to have. And these people were often not upper income people. In fact, rarely were they upper income people. They were very happy in their lives. They didn't have the same kind of bars that in 1999, and the 26-year-old retired multimillionaire coming out of the .com. But so we found this group of balance seekers, and we talked to them in a way that thanked them about people. We talked to them in a way that said, we understand the role money plays in your life and the role that banks can play in that context. So we had outdoor that was really very, very different in attitude. We staked out an attitude. This was the first one that we launched with. You guys were the most toys that still dip. And this outdoor allowed us to set
a warm and different personality that says, that's not the big commercial institutional bank.
Here's the best one. That's the biggest bank in the world running that ad. That connects with people, and all of the metrics on account openings and things like that, because all you have to do in a commodity category is tip it your way just a little bit.
And so have you seen those identity theft commercials?
That's part of the same.
That's on bank funds. Everything he does is on bank funds. It's in their 6th year, and it's been enormously successful to the point now where competitors have, again, started imitating it, and we're going to have to move and evolve in something different beginning next year. So, and you know, that was successful, and if our work weren't successful on the city, it would go away. They're very tough, and they're very metric driven. They make more money than Procter & Gamble and Nike and BMW and Renault combined or something. I mean, just enormous money. You just can't believe it. And so they don't take every dime they spend has to give a return. So that's been a great case of support.
You guys have time to show us that?
Ted, sure. We got all the time.
Yeah, it's your.
Hell, we got time to kill. Let's hope. Want to have sushi with us afterwards? Fred.
Do you want to? What do you want us to do?
No, let's do Ted.
No, well, you're not the boss here.
No, I'm not.
Do Ted.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, we'll do Ted. I'm going to just relax and critique you, Fred.
Okay. Okay, wait a second here. Okay. It's 2003, and our client is United Airlines, and they're in bankruptcy, and they're being attacked by these little airlines like Southwest and JetBlue, and so they decide that they're going to attack back, and they're going to start their own airline, and they're going to come right into the nose of a competitor, Frontier, in Denver. So they're going to launch in Denver this airline named Ted. And our job is to make sure that while they're repainting and reconfiguring the planes, we're developing a brand that will take off and get going fast.
To the leisure market.
To the leisure market. So you got a bankrupt client, so you're not going to get a lot of money to do it. So we came up with a guerrilla campaign, and the guerrilla I'll just show you a list of the kinds of ideas. The basic idea was this. We're going to go into Denver, and instead of introducing an airline, we're going to introduce an exuberant, friendly character named Ted. And you're going to get to know Ted, but you're not going to know whether it's Ted Turner or what it is. So here's a brainstorming list of the kinds of ideas that we had. And we had hundreds of these. But Ted sends flowers to people in local hospitals, blah, blah, blah. They started to ramp up. There were phases. And they started ramping up bigger and bigger and bigger ideas. And we were counting on talk value. We were counting on the media to pick it up as local media. And now I'm going to show you a short video clip of what it felt like to be in Denver in those 2 weeks.
Who is Ted, and why is his name spelled out in a farm field?
I don't know if this is a prank. I don't know if this is what this is all about.
I just wanted to thank them for my coffee and newspaper. Hanging out at Starbucks, and they bought my coffee.
Ted's selling flowers to everyone today, so I wanted to give you some flowers.
Who's Ted? Many people in the Denver area would like to know.
I think a sign that says, I know Ted, I'm not Ted, and then he took a picture with the mayor.
Ted is the man who's been doing good deeds around the metro area, including paying for everybody's lunch down at a Lodo restaurant on Tuesday.
How many times have we said Ted in the last 30 seconds? Probably about, 10 times. Happy Halloween, this is from Ted. There's a sort of a guerrilla marketing campaign underway around Colorado.
We finally know who Ted is.
The Ted mystery appears to be solved. Ted is part of a promotional campaign for United's new low-fare airline.
So Ted is the name of the airline?
Probably. You get it? Unite Ted.
They busted us in 9 days because they found out, a smart reporter found out that the website was registered to the wife of a Fallon employee. And they figured out that we had United Airlines and it was Ted. But by that time we were ready to reveal it. Booked $5 million for the first flight, 82% load factor the first month, 15% share market out of Denver, and they're still going strong 3 years later. They're now into Chicago and Washington, D.C. So it's a good example of just creative leverage using a little bit of traditional media, but not much to get it going.
What was the cost of that campaign? I mean,
You know, I don't know what the actual dollar spent is.
Under $2 million.
Yeah, but considerably less. You would have had to spend $7 million to launch an airline like that. And the thing about the media was, it went outside of Denver. There was national media reporting on Who is Ted. So it just, again, if you get into the popular culture, it works.
But that kind of, reinforces that idea we told you about, that we believe the size of the idea is critically important, and it can be more important than the size of the budget. The Holiday Inn Express, nobody believes that that's less than a $10 million account. It's never spent more, it's never spent $10 million in a year. Nobody believes that.
BMW spends about 60% of what Mercedes and Lexus spend per car sold. And it's just, and they track that. I mean, that's an important metric for them.
That's great. Thank you guys very much.